Hi, this is Krista Moore, and welcome to the Krista Moore Show. This show is brought to you by K Coaching as a new way to learn, as I interview industry experts and thought leaders on subjects that are important to your health, your wellness, and your success. And I'm pleased to have a fabulous guest today. She's a friend of mine and also a member of Women Sales Pros, and her name is Wendy Thomas. Wendy, are you there? Wendy is the founder of Wendy Thomas Consulting, and I'm thrilled to have you on the show today.
Thank you, Krista, for having me here. I'm really honored to be your guest.
So mindset, just the terminology, is quite popular these days. So I'm hoping that we can kind of demystify it a little bit for our audience and help them really understand what control they potentially have over their thoughts. Before we begin, I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about yourself and introduce yourself.
Sure. Thank you, Krista. Well, just to clarify, before people start wondering where I'm from, I actually grew up in South Africa and I attended university at Duke, so like you, North Carolina. And I started my career off in New York. I worked at Bloomberg, the financial media company, for 11 years in New York. Moved to Canada 9 years ago, where I worked for Thomson Reuters for 4 years. And most recently, I worked at FactSet, heading up their Canadian office for 3 years. And
So
I always
I'm hearing the Southern accent, the South African, the Canadian, the New York, kind of all wrapped up in one. So thank you for explaining that.
Thanks. That's why I wanted to clarify it at first, because it's a bit of a mixture all around the South African, Canadian, and American accent, if you will. But I always say, how do you marry a professional high with an all-time personal low? Because I was really thriving in my career. I was managing the office in Canada at FactSet, and two days before my 40th birthday, just 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with early stage breast cancer, and it really put my whole life in perspective. And I started to really think about the last 20 years and what I'd been doing well in the corporate world. And that was my ability to really connect to people and inspire people to be their best selves, to ultimately grow revenue on the front lines, to really connect to people and have them believe in themselves. And I started to think, well, what if I could actually take the skill of mentoring people and build my own business? So what I did is I actually ended up launching my own mindset coaching business, where I connect to people and help them truly understand their potential, and understand what is holding them back. So it's all about mindset and having the power of your own mind to ultimately drive your behavior and your results.
Yeah, so obviously that was a personal choice, right? For you to establish a business, a startup, actually when you're kind of at a low point in your life personally. And I'm wondering, what was it that you were able to do to get the right mindset around moving forward in this direction?
You know, because it's interesting, when I found out about the breast cancer, I realized I had two choices. I could either take the negative road or the positive road. And the moment that I found out, I just knew that I was going to take the positive road, and that I was not going to let fear hold me back. And I was going to do everything within my own control to basically think of the best case scenario. And that's how I got through the diagnosis, was just my positive mindset. And I know that right now, at a time of so much uncertainty, there's only so much that we can do. And that really plays into our mindset. We can have the outside world really drive our emotions, just like the fear of the cancer diagnosis. I could have been completely stopped and paralyzed in my thinking. But I knew that I had to just focus on the good, focus on the positive, that I was lucky to have found this early, and I just knew that I was going to get to the other side.
Yeah. So just today, you're feeling well, you're in remission, you're living your life. How are you feeling?
I feel great. I'm feeling very thankful that I found things when I did, and I'm really thankful that I had the opportunity to really reflect about what I've been good at, and that's my ability to connect to people. And I absolutely love what I do. I was so excited to launch my own business. I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, and running my own mindset coaching business has been tremendously fulfilling, to be able to impact people in a very positive way.
That's great. Well, let me ask you, for our audience and for our full fully understanding what exactly is your definition of mindset. Like, what does that mean to you, and how can you best describe that to others that are listening in today?
Sure. So my definition of mindset is really managing from the inside out versus managing from the outside in. We become very consumed with the outside world, with our five senses, and having our five senses dictate the direction that we go in. But if you're able to really tap into your true feelings and not let fear overcome you, that is really mindset. That is using everything that is within your control, within your subconscious mind, to ultimately drive your feelings. Your feelings drive your behavior, and your behavior ultimately drives your results. So it's very easy to blame circumstances and people, but the reality is we have to use everything that we possibly can within our control, and that has a lot to do with our mindset and the perception and how we see a situation.
You know, I always looked at life with the glass half full, and I was raised in a positive mindset kind of atmosphere. Like, I remember my dad had Jim Rohn motivational tapes playing throughout the house, you know, of encouragement. If you want things to change, then you've got to change, you know, just so I had this environment where I grew up in a positive, and if someone were to talk negative or look at something negatively, my dad would always say, don't major in minor things, or, you know, so I feel fortunate that my natural tendency is to have that type of mindset. But I think that there are plenty of people that they have to be trained on that, or to really have some great methods to practice it. And that's what I would love to learn from you today. Maybe some tips or techniques for what we can do to have better control over our mindset, especially during this time when we're all really adjusting to the changes that are taking place in our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, my biggest tip is really to focus on gratitude. First thing that you do when you wake up is to, you really write out the things that you're thankful for, because if you don't take that time for yourself, it's very easy to turn on your phone and get consumed with negative news. Whereas if you actually take the time to write down 8 to 10 things that you're grateful for, it puts you in a really good vibration, and you're able to start your day off in an elevated mood. And when you're in an elevated mood, you become more productive. And there's simple things that you could be grateful for, you know, your health, your family, food, things that you take for granted on a regular basis, right? That's my gratitude statement.
Yeah, and you know, it's so interesting. This morning I was listening to a videotape of a guy that's actually going to be a guest on my show in a couple of weeks. And every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, he produces kind of a morning power messaging video. And one of the first things that he does is he has people write down their gratitude and their thoughts of gratitude. And I actually went through that this morning because I was kind of playing along with his process. And it's amazing what just taking a few minutes to do that, how it can make you feel. So what are you grateful for today?
I'm grateful for so much. I'm grateful for my health, for my family, for food, for community, for friends, through technology, being able to stay connected in a time that is just unprecedented. Every day I wake up and I'm truly grateful for what I have and for being in the safety of my own home.
That's awesome. And I think that there's some recommendations there in terms of journaling gratitude or writing down every morning or every night, just a few bullets. And that would actually be a new habit that maybe some people could start to embrace. What would be another, absolutely. I'm sorry, what would be another example of what we could do to work on our mindset?
So again, I mean, think more about this builds upon the gratitude, but it's building really good habits and having a routine to your day. So for example, you know, if you want more time and more peace of mind because everyone's in the same house these days. It gets very crowded. There's a lot of things to do. Wake up a little bit earlier before everybody else in the family. I wake up like an hour and a half before the rest of my family, and I wake up and I write out my gratitudes, and I also work out every single morning. I go for a run, or I ride the Peloton bike. But that being said, there's so many different workout companies that are offering free trials right now, whether it's barre, whether it's yoga, whether it's Pilates. There's so many different things that you can do to stay fit and exercise and help with your mindset. Because working out really does help with your mindset. And if you can get into the routine of doing it every single day, that's time for yourself. And at the end of the day, you don't resent anybody else for not having any alone time. So wake up a little bit before everybody else and build that into your routine every day.
Well, I think so many people's routine has been really kind of out of whack, right? With the changes and having to potentially now work from home, also children being home and homeschooling. And I'm talking to a lot of working moms that are just stressed out to the max. And they're looking for a way to be able to relieve that stress and to find some of that alone time. So I heard you say that it's good to have a routine, and the morning routines probably makes the most sense. But you also talked about exercise and that having a positive impact on your mental health and your mental wellness. What is it kind of chemically or mentally or spiritually that draws the connection between exercise and wellness and kind of mindset?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you exercise, it releases endorphins, and you feel really good and happy, and you're able to elevate your vibration, elevate your mood, and project happy energy. And when you're able to act in a positive way, you just become more productive.
Now, what advice do you have for those working moms that have their children home homeschooling? I know your house is probably hectic right now as well.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that my kids don't bolt in on this meeting, but if they do, they do. It is what it is. It's just the new normal. Again, it's trying to share the load balance with your significant other, and it's about balancing it as best as you possibly can. I mean, there's really no perfect in this situation, and not being so tough on yourself too, knowing that every day is going to be different. There's going to be really hard days, and there's going to be days that aren't so bad. But at the same time, I think if you look at things from a positive angle, we never would have had this time to have a window into how our children learn. And I'm grateful for having a window into how my 10-year-old and 6-year-old learn, because it is very interesting. I don't think I was meant to be a teacher. I've become a homeschool teacher overnight, and they learn in very different ways. And I have a newfound respect for teachers out there. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. One of the things that I've heard a lot about with mindset is how important it is to almost visualize what something could look like or what the end result could potentially be. And it's a little bit of meditation, but it's kind of just getting your mind wrapped around the positive vision of an outcome or your best self showing up, and what does that look like, and how do other people respond? Can you talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the whole importance of having goals as well, and having a purpose every single day when you get out of bed, because if you can visualize yourself in the future as the person that would have achieved the goals that you've set for yourself already, you immediately lift your vibration and your overall happiness level to the point where you're really excited about starting the day. I have big goals myself, and when I think about them, I just get really excited, and that's ultimately what powers me up every single day. So it's the importance of visualization, and visualization is imagining yourself having already achieved bigger goals that you've set out for yourself in your life. And many people don't realize this, but they don't set goals for themselves. And it's so important to have short-term goals, long-term goals, and just goals that get you really, really excited about getting out of bed in the morning.
Well, let's talk about getting out of bed in the morning, because I think what's happening to a lot of people, they end up staying in their pajamas. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and she said her husband looked at her and said, "Well, I think it's shower day." Just have to laugh at that, because it's a very depressing time. It really is. And so normally if we want to get into use the power of positive thinking and visualization and gratitude and kind of up leveling our energy under normal circumstances, that isn't easy to do. But with everything that's weighing heavy on us, coming from the news, coming from society, being confined into a small space with the same people, it makes it even more difficult to kind of embrace some of this. What would you say to those that just having a hard time changing, maybe changing habits or don't really know what you mean by how you can just kind of think and things will change, think differently and things will change?
Well, I think it's the point again about having a goal and showing up as the person that you want to be. I know that we don't have places to go, but for me, showering and drying my hair and acting like I have a place to go, whether it's a Zoom meeting or it's not, I'm not dressing up for anybody else. I'm dressing up for myself. And when I dress nicely, I feel good about myself, and that increases my positivity level, if you will. But then I think another key thing here is also to not get consumed with negative news and with negative things and negative people as well, because that can very easily lower your vibration and not make you feel like you actually want to get dressed up and go anywhere. Well, you can't go anywhere, but like really have the motivation to do anything all day, because it just is all consuming and depressing. So my advice is to really stay away from negative people and negative things. Don't listen to rumors and hysteria. I mean, you can watch CNBC and CNN all day long, but it will completely pull you down. My advice is to stick to the facts. I read the New York Times in the morning, and I watch The Daily Show. I watch Trevor Noah because I think he brings a really interesting, humorous angle to a time that is just such a scary event in our lives. And by being in control of the facts and knowing that I'm doing absolutely everything that I can do, really helps my mood and my positivity and my elevation. So I think that is what you can do to stay away from the negative energies. Yeah. Just get away from
and you talked about staying away from negative news and negative people, so to speak. But I want to just say too, we're all learning how to work on our relationships and really nurture them differently than we have in the past, because maybe we're physically around people more, or we're not. We've distanced and now we need to connect with them in a different way. But those people that really can feed our soul, that are really there to love and to support and to help us stay up, we've got to reach out to them. And this isn't something that we should try and handle alone. And I wanted to hear your thoughts on being proactive in building and working on those relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the key thing to remember here, Krista, is that everyone's in this together and everyone is craving that human contact. And by just making a proactive effort to reach out to friends, colleagues, just people to check in and see how they're doing and suggest having video calls or virtual cocktails, like whatever it is. I think we just have to make the best use of technology right now to get us in front of the people that we love and we want to be around, because we're all humans and we are craving that human connection right now. And I think we just have to be comfortable with the fact that it's going to be virtual for a while. And I'm thankful for the fact that we have virtual software at this point, because had this happened 10 years ago, we wouldn't be able to connect on this level.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was talking, like you, I try and get my exercise in the morning, but one thing that I've done with my girlfriends is we plan at 8:15 in the morning, we're going to do a FaceTime workout where the three of us are on the line. And we didn't do that before, but now it's just our way of really staying connected and helping each other kind of through this difficult time and making sure that we're accountable to that routine. So, that's really worked for me. The other thing that I want to add that I think's kind of worked in keeping that mindset and being mindful is it's okay to have conversations around. I'll give you an example. Like Eddie and I, we're business owners together, and we're the only ones in the house because the kids are all grown up and out. Love my husband dearly, but sometimes when I need to look at him and say, I think I need some alone time. And that's just like my way of like, I need to, go read a book and go, listen to some music or just kind of chill out and not have anybody or anything around me. So I guess I'm encouraging so many of our viewers to realize what they can do differently with their daily routine. Let's not accept this as the new normal. If it doesn't feel right and it's kind of bringing you down, and you've got to figure out how to rise up and get out of this fog that maybe you're living in, the only way things are going to change is if we change our behavior and our mindset. And so I love to maybe leave them with any final thoughts you have on actions that they can take to help them kind of move through this difficult time in a very positive, mindful way.
Sure. I think one of the things you just touched upon now, Krista, is feed your mind. There's a lot of amazing things out there that you can feed your mind with, from amazing books, podcasts, to documentaries, all these different resources that we can get our hands on. We have time now, and I think when this pandemic ends, we're going to go back to our really busy lives of traveling and commuting and having all these hours taken away from us. And I think right now is the time to really feed our mind the things that we really need. I know that I love listening to podcasts, and I love listening to Guy Raz, How I Built This. And I'm inspired by so many entrepreneurs out there that have really built incredible products, and that lifts my vibration. It makes me happy. It gets me excited to start the day. So often I'm out running in the morning and I'm listening to a podcast. There's also audiobooks, and there's just a lot of things to do. There's a lot of dead time that we can actually take to really help our own personal development. For example, offloading a dishwasher is the most mundane task ever. But what if you just put on your AirPods and listen to a podcast while you did that? Like, you're enriching your mind for the next 10 minutes, which could otherwise be dead time.
Yeah, I've noticed music helps me. So I have a number of playlists going on that normally I'm not going about my day with the music in the background, but music kind of really lifts my spirit. So that's something that works for me as well. Well, I want to make sure it's okay to share some contact information. I know that you do complimentary introduction kind of meeting calls. I'm not quite sure what you call them, but if you could maybe let our audience know the best way to get a hold of you. And we have a slide up here with some contact information.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So feel free to reach out to me on my website. It's wendythomascoaching.com. And also feel free to sign up for a coaching call with me from there. And also sign up for my monthly newsletter. I try to put a lot of positive and inspiring content out there every month. So feel free to sign up for my newsletter. Krista's going to share a link about that as well. But yes, it's a real honor to be here, and I hope I can help so many people navigate these really unprecedented times through the power of a positive mindset.
Yeah, that's great, Wendy. Thanks for being with us. And I wanted to share with the audience this particular link. I think you have a downloadable resource as well as a reminder for best ways to manage your mindset. So that might be something that they can go out and get from your site.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great, thanks.
Well, thank you, Krista. It's a real honor to be here.
Great, take care of yourself, and I'll talk with you soon. So I want to thank everyone for joining us today, and just know that most Wednesdays I'm going live at 2 o'clock Eastern time for the Krista Moore Show, continuing to bring you thought leaders and experts on subjects that really can help you kind of up-level, ignite your potential. And thank you so much for joining us. Now, you can listen to past recordings anytime you'd like. You can go to Stage I have a Go-To Stage channel, or you can go to YouTube, and I'd love for you to subscribe and follow on my YouTube channel. I'm really trying to boost that up with really good content and trying to get some followership. So I'd appreciate it if you'd connect with me on the Krista Moore YouTube channel. Until next week, take care of yourself, and thank you for joining us.